Welcome to Go and Glow, an inspiring show for the beautiful and brave with Natasha Cole.
Hi guys, welcome to the Go and Glow Project. I'm your host, Natasha Cole. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I am really excited about this episode today because it's my first interview and it's with a friend who I deeply respect and admire. And as you know, the Go and Glow Project is a platform to discover our passion. It's a resource for us to understand our purpose. And in that, we'll be highlighting people who are living that truth and who are inspiring us every day through their art. And so the person that I'd like to introduce to you today is a friend that I met last year in Bali, Indonesia. We were both there attending the Awesomeness Fest. And if you don't know what the Awesomeness Fest is, it's also called the A Fest. It's a transformational event, and it brings together entrepreneurs and authors and visionaries and mavericks and technophiles and people who are doing amazing things to change the world through their art. And so I went there last year with my fiance, and this special guest today was also there, and I had the pleasure of meeting her and sitting with her on an adventure, an excursion that we were about to go on to this really cool temple there. And we got to have a conversation and we got to hang out there. And we've kept in touch, and I just wanted to bring her on the show so that she can, shine her light and she could, kind of tell you guys what she's up to and how she's impacting the world. She is the Chief Empress of Awesome, which I love that title, by the way. And her name is Jacqueline Shaulis. And I'd like for you guys to welcome my dear friend, Jacqueline Shaulis. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be a part of this podcast, and I'm so excited. As Natasha mentioned, we met in quite interesting circumstances, and I'm just so thrilled to be able to share with you, Natasha, and with your community, and to just be a part of this project. I'm trying to stay composed and professional, but I am super amped about being a part of this.
Great, and I'm so happy to have you on this show. So, where are you right now? You are, for the past month, for 5 weeks, we have been communicating back and forth, and you have been so busy. Can you please tell us what are you doing right now, and where are you in the world right now?
So I'm finally back in New York. That's where I live. I'm just coming off of the Embrace Your Awesome World Tour. So for the past 5 weeks, I have literally been around the globe sharing the message of embracing your awesome. And that has been an adventure. That has been fantastic. This was the inaugural kickoff of the Embrace Your Awesome World Tour. So it was in Germany. I spoke at Germany, in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Tokyo, and then came back to California to speak in, where was I? San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco. And so I actually just got back home on yesterday. And lo and behold, when I do return, I guess there's something that needs to be repaired yet again on our building. So please excuse the intermittent knocking, banging, jackhammering implosion that's going on in the background as there's some construction that just started happening just before we started recording, timely as ever. So I'm back in New York. I'll be here for a little while before the next wild adventure. But yeah, it's good to be home.
Well, welcome back to the States. Welcome back home. Can you tell us a little bit about the Embrace Your Awesome tour? So this is based on a book that you are writing, correct?
That's correct. This tour was really, I guess you could say it's been sort of a brainchild that's been percolating in the back of my head for a few years now. Embrace Your Awesome is really the central tenet of my life and of my business. And it's the way that each person is able to embrace and acknowledge and really release those amazing works of expression that everyone has. Every person, if you are here and you have breath in your body, there is something that you are meant to do. That's not just to honor your own experience, but is here to honor the experiences of others. And so what I do is, in my work, is that I help people to tap into that. I say that I help people who have these huge visions of themselves that terrify them, that scare them witless. I help them take the fear out of it so that they can live into who they're meant to be. And as they're doing that, they're serving others. And so the world tour was all about really being able to leverage that on a global scale. I've been very fortunate to speak to a number of people around the world. I've been on 5 continents speaking and spreading the love. So this was the first organized effort of me doing that versus going to different organizations or corporations to spread the love. So it was quite the adventure in that this was something that for me I always wanted to do, but had no clue how this could happen. Wouldn't it be great, and just sitting thinking, wouldn't it be great if I could just travel all over the world and I could share with people what I know, but I could learn from them too, and I can help them to not just feel better about themselves, but to do better and to be better. As they're living their best life, they're helping other people live their best life. Wouldn't it be cool if I could do that? And, I could get paid to do that and, just have some fun with it. Stay in nice places, maybe have a little time to look around. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? That's how all of this started with that. Just, wouldn't that be nice if I could do that? Yeah, that would be pretty great. I have no clue how that's going to happen, but yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, I'm going to do that one of these days. And many of the things, and I've found that people who tend to, I guess, manifest things or tend to have these sort of charmed lives, things tend to start off that way with, wouldn't it be nice if, and then some outrageous request, something that's just completely out of left field, and then that's followed by, oh yeah, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to experience that, or I'm going to have that, and then letting go of the how it's going to happen and what needs to be in place, kind of letting go of that. And for me, and what was one of the beautiful things for me, not only to learn, but to also share during this world tour, is that when you come from that place of wanting to be in sort of play and expression and fun, actually enjoying your life, actually enjoying this experience, that really crazy stuff begins to happen. It's good stuff, but it's crazy stuff. I could not have fathomed actually doing this world tour. I wanted it. I thought it would be a great idea. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, well, life goes on. But I could not have truly fathomed that this would be my life, that I could actually do this, that I could actually help other people do this. So that's, in a nutshell, Embrace Your Awesome, and kind of what it is and what it's about, and how the world tour went.
Well, I know that when we met last year, I was living in China, and so after we parted ways, I went back to China and I did a little traveling, and then I came back to the States, and you just took off. You were in India and you were in Sydney, and then, this tour, and I'm like, wow, she is living such an amazing life and impacting people. So do you think that you got something from the Awesomeness Fest in Bali that sort of, catapulted you in that direction? Was there anything that happened to you there that, you felt like, wow, this is the beginning of something?
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time that, hands down, without question, investing in myself to go to Awesomeness Fest last year was the single best thing I could have done, not just for my business, but for me as an individual, for me as a wife, as a mother, as a businesswoman. It was the single best thing that I could have ever done. And it's something that I wanted to be a part of AFES. It was another one of those things. Wouldn't it be nice if, I could be a part of this amazing experience? when it first started, at the very first one about 5 years ago. I had no clue how I would be a part of it. I missed the very first one. So last year was a total fluke. Like, it was a total fluke for me being there. I found out that there was a space opening, like maybe the week before. I got there on like a wing and a prayer. It was my first time in Asia last year. I've been back, a few times now. Just in the past 12 months, I've been back a few times. And what was really amazing about that particular experience, about Awesomeness Fest, and if you hear us talking about it a lot, just know you need to go to the site, awesomenessfest.com, to check it out. It is by far the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your business. And Natasha has already mentioned some of the benefits and I guess, aspects, different facets of it. But what was really amazing for me was, one, being able to really focus on thinking big and dreaming big. Mm-hmm. So not just being able to say, okay, these are some pretty stretching goals. Like, that's pretty good for me to stretch out, like wanting to speak in maybe a couple countries this year. That's a pretty big stretch. It's August. I only have a few months to pull that off. But yeah, I could do that within the next year or so. That was kind of my mindset before A-Fest. And one of the big experiences I had came out what I call my crazy ass list. And one of the exercises during the event was for us to just write down, for us to just imagine, like, if there was anything that we could experience, that we could do, that we could have, we could be, like, with no limitations. If there was anything in the world that you could think of, what would be some of those things? And I allow myself to just go with the flow of what was there, not judge it, not read it, just put it down. And I was a little amazed and baffled by some of the things that I wrote down. Like, some of the stuff was like, that's just bonkers. Like, where did that come from? And some of the things they weren't so outrageous, but they were still quite a stretch. And you mentioned last year when I was in Asia, that was one of the things that was on my list, was being able to speak in 2 or more countries before the year was done. And another thing on my list was being able to go on an international trip with my family, with my husband and son, which we had been talking about and hadn't done. Well, sort of by the magic of A-Fest, not just being there, but the people that I met and being open, there were opportunities that, just seemed to crop up like daisies after A-Fest. So one of our colleagues that also attended, actually a couple of them, they decided to put on a personal development expo, and they asked me to be a speaker there, and that was in India. And then another colleague who was from Australia, she has a coaching business, and she asked me to come over if I had time. Well, why not? And they made arrangements for me to speak at a young professionals organization, which apparently is really big there in Sydney. One of the crazy visions that honestly had me questioning my sanity was this vision of being able to move my husband and son, and of course myself, to Bali. Mm-hmm. It's like, this is crazy talk. Like, I can't just uproot my family from New York to, like, the jungles of Bali. Like, that's just bonkers. And even as I was questioning myself and God, I got this, like, it was like I heard a snap, and my eyes were immediately redirected to this pillar of one of the buildings that I was walking in, and it had etched on it my name and my husband's name. Now, that freaked me out. Wow. But the more amazing part is that in less than 3 months later, we were there. Me, my husband, and my son were in Bali for a full month. And we took a picture of us by that same pillar that I had this epiphany. These kinds of things aren't normal. Like, I totally get that these aren't the usual experiences, but they're all things that one came sort of, I guess that the spark went to a flame at A-Fest. There was always that spark that was there, but it went into overdrive at Awesomeness Fest. And part of the reason is that particular event and the experience that you have there is one that really, where you're really focusing on dreaming big, on thinking not just out of the box, like out of the atmosphere. Like you're in a completely different side of the galaxy when you're there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And being able to give yourself permission to dream that big, and also giving yourself permission to receive those things, which was part of my own personal journey. I can dream a lot of different things, but I would find ways to sabotage myself once those things appeared. So part of another one of the big like joys, and like I'm so indebted to A-Fest, and I'm such a committed champion of it, is that it helped me so much with the receiving part. Like it's okay to be a giver, but somebody has to receive. Why not you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Being able to get those dreams that you want. So really all of this kind of springboarded from that A-Fest experience. There were some things that were kind of percolating prior to A-Fest last year, but things just really, like I said, it went from a spark to a flame, and things have been going just ridiculous since last year. Like absolutely, I don't recognize my own life, and it hasn't been a full 12 months since that experience. And I was doing some nice things. I was doing all right, but the level at which I'm doing things, and not just I'm doing them for myself, as I'm learning, as I'm developing, as I'm evolving, I'm in such a better space to help other people by saying, hey, okay, you want to think of some crazy stuff? Okay, imagine walking through the jungles, seeing that you need to uproot your family to move to the jungle, and then having that come true in less than 90 days. That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
If I can live that kind of like whacked out, what the hell kind of life, you can certainly do like the attainable not so nutso. Like you can do the crazy stuff too, but the not so nutso stuff is every bit as attainable as the crazy what the hell stuff. And I'm here as an example of the possibility of that.
Absolutely. I tell so many people, I had so many breakthroughs with Awesomeness Fest last year. I mean, for me, and it was so much about, like you said, receiving. Like you can dream all you want, but when we did the different exercises, especially the one where we all went up to each other and we had to say something positive, to that person, and we didn't know them, and just, the speakers, and of course, just the legend, Lisa Nichols, like everything that happened in that week was so incredible. And it was, it just contributed to so much transformation for myself as well. So, and I met so many incredible people, including you. So, it's I tell people all the time, it's a little expensive to go, but it is worth every penny that you pay for it. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just wanted to piggyback on that just very briefly, because I know we're talking a lot about Awesomeness Fest, and it's kind of like, okay, we're total groupies. Okay, we're there. But really that particular experience is one that I think every person should have. Ideally at Awesomeness Fest. But if there's anything to take away from this, the single best thing that I did was being willing to invest in myself. We spend a lot of time and money investing in all sorts of things for other people, all sorts of solutions, trying to cut corners, trying to, do the best we can with our means. So we'll take something that's of a lesser quality, hoping to get premium results. This is one instance, and I'm sure that there are lots of others, but this is one instance that investing in yourself as a premium, like you are top shelf, and you should invest in yourself because you are top shelf. You can't be your best if you are half-assing it for yourself.
Absolutely.
You simply can't. You can give as much as you want, as much as you can, but if you are not fulfilled, if you are not fully supported, if you are not in a space where you do have people who get you from the very essence of who you are, and who are willing to challenge you and willing to hold you accountable and willing to help you see how great you are so that you can dream big and so that you can receive those things. If you don't have something like that, I so strongly urge you to get that. Whether it's at Awesomeness Fest or some other event, it is the single best thing that you can do for yourself. It will affect your business. It will affect your family. It will affect your relationships, your finances, your health. Everything will benefit from you being willing to invest top shelf into your top shelf self so that you can have that life that you want and you can have the life that you're meant to have. It's not just that you want it and you're not meant to have it. You're meant to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I learned that years ago, like, you have to invest in yourself like you would, when you invest in a home or when you invest in your college education or whatever it is. It's like personal development and rich experiences like that. Those are currencies. I totally thought it was worth it, and I want to go again. I am going again. My fiance and I are going to go again, and I was really grateful for that experience. Speaking of relationships, like, how do you so you've been gone for a month, and obviously your son is in school and you're rooted in New York. How do you get your husband to be on board with these crazy ideas and with this insane traveling schedule where I'm sure sometimes he can go and sometimes he cannot? Like, who is the person that you have to be married to say, hey, I support you, and go?
Well, I've got to say I am so incredibly fortunate to have my husband. It's something that is not lost on me because so many people, both women and men, they just don't have a partner that is as supportive as my husband is. We've known each other. We've been together, we've been married for 11 years. We dated for 8 years before that, so nearly 2 decades together. And one of the foundational things for our relationship was always challenging each other to think big, to dream big, and then pushing one another to meet those goals and to meet those dreams. So as things are progressing, especially lately, my husband has been amazingly supportive. He's always cheered me on. We are polar opposites in our approaches. He's very quiet and reserved and laid back. I'm kind of the wild, crazy one. So we're very different in our approaches, but he's always been a huge supporter of me. And even when there are those times where it's like, okay, I really want to do this, but I can't leave for this long. And that was one of the discussions and the struggles that I was having. I wanted to do this world tour, and this is the first of several. There's already a few in the works for next year, but it's like I can't do that. I can't leave you two. We have a 5-year-old, and I can't leave you boys for this long. I want to do this, but I can't because I can't leave you here. And my husband was the one who kind of forced me, nearly kicking me out the door with my bag. Get out. Why are you still here? Why is this even a question? This is something that you've always wanted. This is part of what you need to do for not just yourself, but for those people who need you. Stop crying about it. Stop being a baby. Get on with it. We'll see you when you get back. There's Skype. And so that's what we did. And on all of these different adventures, whether I'm here in the U.S. or going abroad, I always know that he has my back. I always know that he's supporting me. He is my biggest fan. He's my biggest champion. He will call me out on my stuff. He will, kick me out the door when I'm like, oh, I can't leave. He's like, okay, get out already. just go. It's stop being a baby. And my son, he is just remarkable. He loves that mommy is going on these different adventures. And that too is something, it's not lost on me. It's not lost on me just how fortunate and how blessed I am that, my son is not, he's not one that's like, oh, well, I hate mommy's job because mommy's gone, or, oh, I wish you were here. He misses me, but he gets that mommy is doing this to improve life for herself, for him and for all the people that I meet. He gets to see mommy being her best. He gets to see what it's like to go to all of these places, because I'm always doing videos and taking pictures, and thank God for Skype, because Skype is like the fourth family member in our family. So Eli gets to see, he loves doing what he calls the tour of whatever place that I'm going to. So while we're Skyping, he gets to see whatever hotel or whatever attraction that I'm at. So he gets to see the world just as mommy is getting to see it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing for me to be able to have them there with me, even if they're not with me. Sometimes they're with me. Like in December and January, when we were traveling, they were with me. So even as I was doing workshops, I'm delivering my workshop and they're back at the hotel, they're walking around, they're seeing the sights, so on and so forth. That's crucial for me. That if there's ever a point where I can't have, if not my family physically there, if I feel like my work is overtaking my family, then I've got to call back. I know people talk a lot about like work-life balance, and I just don't, for me, there is no balance, there's only harmony. Sometimes one is more, sometimes the other is, and it's the ebb and flow of not just work and home, but of your community life, as I'm very big about volunteering and being a part of the community. That's also another layer that's in there, that's in that sort of ebb and flow. So with my husband, I don't have to convince him. He's usually convincing me to, stop, fretting over, worrying about him or worrying about how they'll be fine. Go, go pursue your dreams. Go pursue that. And I mean, I wish I had like some magic formula. Like, I don't know, I sprinkled dust on him early enough on that, that it worked out that way. It's just from the very beginnings of our relationship, that was the foundation of us having that respect for our very different views, our very different visions, but always challenging each other to do more and to be more. And that has never waned. Over the past 19 years, that has never diminished. It's only grown more so.
Of course, I asked that question because I'm engaged to, someone who has just, pushed me in the direction of living a bigger life. And, of course, you met him last year in Bali.
Right.
We lived apart for 3 years almost while I was in China, and he was in the States. And it was like, I had to do it. He supported me. And anytime I have a dream, he's just like, all right, well, how can we execute? He's just one of those people. It's like, he doesn't want to sit around and watch TV together all day. Like, he wants to, be out there impacting lives, and he wants to, just really use our gifts, because a lot of people get married and they kind of think like, that's it. But it's like, no, that's the beginning. Right. Like, that's the beginning. You come together.
Absolutely.
The two of you come together and you could actually make a difference in the world. Like, that's the whole point of, marriage and stuff. So yeah, I just want the listeners, especially the women, to know, like, when you are choosing a mate, it's very important that they do support your projects and they do support, your vision and where you're going, and that they push you, and that they're not cynical about it, because a lot of people,
right,
get in relationships and the person is not supporting them, or the person doesn't know how to push them. So, I just
right,
think that's, when we would communicate, via Facebook, and I'd see your pictures and you're traveling, and, you'd kind of talk about where you were and the things that you were doing. I just thought that was awesome that you could be, a full-time mom and a full-time wife, and you could still go out there and, just shine, like, and impact other people. So I think that's awesome.
And I appreciate that, because it's great if you have someone in your corner who is pushing you, who is your champion, who is, rooting you on. But if you don't have that, the one person you do have is yourself. Yeah. And long before I met my husband, I had to be that for myself. Mm-hmm. So whether you have a partner or not, the very first step is for you to be willing to push yourself, be willing to dream big, be willing to admit to yourself what it is you really want. I will say one of the traps that I fell into was I did have this big vision for what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be. I was actually doing and being all of those things. And then I allowed myself to stop thinking that I could still be, as fabulous as I am. Like somehow I have to be normal. Somehow I have to be like everyone else. I have to get like a normal job and have a normal life. Like you can't be like 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds, traveling across the country by yourself just because. Like somehow you can't do that. I know now that's bullcrap, but allowing yourself to receive, that was the big thing. I could envision and I could see and I could live into those things for so long, and then I just allowed myself to stop thinking that I was worthy to receive all of the things that I was receiving. And if you allow yourself to get into that space and stay in that space, you'll find that you'll probably do okay. I mean, you won't necessarily have like a miserable life, but you will know that you're not doing what you're supposed to. And because you know that you're not doing what you're supposed to, you will be miserable. It's not the circumstances of it, like a partner or not a partner, support or not support, having a corporate job or being an entrepreneur. It's not those pieces. It's the honoring yourself first and respecting yourself first and respecting the fact that you are here to do things in the world, that you are not here just to take up space and to go from point A to point B to point C and then back to A. That's not what you're here for at all. That just happens to be one of the functions of being human. You are here to make an impact and to make a difference. And as long as you allow yourself to dream big and receive those things when they come to you, you'll be fine. The partner stuff, it's great if you have a partner who's in your corner. If you have a partner that doesn't support you, you can still succeed in embracing your awesome. You can still succeed in being all that you are meant to be. And in fact, the more that you begin to shine, the more that you begin to grow in not just your confidence in yourself, but in really knowing that you know this is what you're here on the planet to do. When you get into that space, it then brings out those supporting qualities in those around you. And the ones who are not supportive, they will be so like, okay, what's going on? I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that too, for the grand falling away.
Yeah, absolutely. What other advice would you give, let's say, I don't know, the 23-year-old woman? Not that you're that much older than that, but what advice would you have given your younger self? If you can think back a couple years ago to who you were and, before this platform, before you built this platform, what advice would you give or what would you say to the 20-something-year-old Jacqueline?
I would say, don't believe the hype. That's probably the best way to put it. For better or for worse. One of the, like I was just mentioning, one of my biggest pitfalls is that I was living a life that was in flow and doing all sorts of wonderful things early on in life. Like as a teen, I was doing things that most adults don't do. I had a newspaper article. I was an international performer. I was winning, doing all of these things, wrote books, blah, blah, blah. Doing all this stuff that children don't do, most adults don't do, let alone kids doing this. And at some point, I began to convince myself and believe the hype of everyone else that life has to be hard, that you have to struggle, that you can't do this because this thing, that thing, or another, because you're young, because you're Black, because you're a woman, because you're from this community, because you've had this experience. You can't. I started allowing that to become my truth instead of the life that I was living to become my truth. I started buying into other people's hype, and I started shutting myself down so that I could have a normal life, a quote normal existence, where there's struggle and you're going from point A to point B. Don't look beyond anything else. This is what you know. This is what you stick with. When I started buying into all of that, I started shutting down a lot of my gifts, and it has taken years for me to get back to that place where I can feel not just good about myself, but I can trust in knowing that when I I wouldn't say like I have the intuition of something, but when I get these like bright ideas about something that's just completely off the rails, I now have the faith and the confidence and just the knowing that it is possible. It's possible for me to have that, to do that, to be that, despite everyone else's hype, despite what everyone else has to say. So that would be, I think, you don't have to believe everyone else's hype. Someone else's reality does not have to be yours. You create the reality that you want. And if you start to shut down your reality, that's on you too. Mm-hmm. It's sort of the two-edged sword of having the ability to create the life that you want. You can have absolutely anything that you want. If you can think of it, you truly can have it. Doesn't mean it's going to like magically appear at a snap of a finger, but you can have that. By the same token, that same power you have to create absolutely anything that you want, you can shut that all down too. As you begin to think, well, I can't have this and I can't have that, I can't do this, I can't do that, that becomes your truth and that mm-hmm. becomes your reality. Mm-hmm. So just not believing the hype. Like, don't buy into the naysayers. There's a difference between people who have your best interest at heart and who are wanting to support you. They will sometimes inadvertently cause you to doubt yourself because they're trying to look out for you, but they can't see what you see. They can't see your vision. They can't see and they can't feel what's in your heart, that longing that you have, and they mean well, but you have to be able to rely on what is in your core, what you know to be true, whether you call that, from God, from universe, from spirit, from source, from just your instincts. Call it what you will, but there is an inner knowing that every person has, and we often tend to override that inner knowing. If you begin to trust that inner knowing, if you begin to rely on that inner knowing, everyone else's hype, you'll hear it, you'll take it into consideration, and you'll either dismiss it, which is usually the best thing to do, or there are parts of it that you'll apply. But you have to get strong in that inner knowing, because once you start believing everyone else's hype, it's so easy to get derailed. And on the other side, too, of not believing the hype, once you start getting into that space where you are in flow, where you are in the zone, you are doing things, it's like there's no way this could happen, and you're doing it. Like, as people are saying it's impossible, you're already done and on to the next thing. Don't get so caught up in your head about you doing it. Now you're all of that. Now suddenly, like, you're, a magician, like you're suddenly the queen or king of everything. You are, but you're not. Mm-hmm. You are of your existence, but that's it. Yeah. So don't believe the hype of, there was something that, and we've mentioned Lisa Nichols a couple of times, but I absolutely love the advice that her grandmother gave her. And her grandmother, she tells the story of her grandmother. And her grandmother told her at the very beginning of her speaking career to collect all of the newspaper articles, all the write-ups, all the clippings about her, but don't read a single one. Just keep a file of all of those so that when she gets older and she sits back, she can read and see who people thought that she was while all the time she was being who she was. Mm-hmm. I thought that was the most amazing advice ever. That is like, okay, drop the mic, walk off the stage. But nothing else needs to be said. Just the ability of, you'll receive compliments, you'll receive praise, you'll receive ... for just being able to impact people in a positive light, on small scale, large scale. But don't get so caught up, once again, in what other people have to say, even if it is the good stuff, even if it is the praise, that you start to lose your mind. Because it's not about you. It is truly not about you. It is about how you are serving others, how your life is a light unto others. You enjoy your life, but your life is only here to be of service to others. You get to have fun while you're doing it, but that's your purpose. That's the point of you having breath, is to help someone else along the way. So don't get caught up in the hype either way.
Absolutely. Lisa Nichols, she was just so inspiring and so impactful. And I actually went up to her after one of the talks that she gave there, and I grabbed her hands and I pulled her to the side and I looked her in her eyes and I was like, thank you so much. Thank you for being, the most inspiring speaker here. Thank you for, just being so powerful. Thank you for sharing your valleys. Cause, she talked about, when you go through your setbacks and your struggles and your valley, you have to actually tell people that they have to know where you came from to know, where you are right now and how that has, propelled you to success. And, I just love how she incorporated her family stories and, her history of being a single mom and how bad she wanted to be successful for her son. And, just all the things that she went through. On top of all of that, she was the only African American speaker there, and she was amazing. And, she had people crying, and, it was really a spiritual experience when she spoke. And it meant a lot to me. So I've been following her ever since that. And, she's like my Oprah to me. So, but I wanted to ask you, what valleys have you shared in your talks, or what setbacks or failures or experiences from, your 20s or even younger than that you've had that has propelled you to success, or, has given you just so much clarity in your life of what you want and how you want it and how you're going to go after it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my whole life has been one foot in chaos, toxic dysfunction, one foot in flow, success, polished nature. So, I mean, that balancing act, when you are, on the one hand, you're in an abusive environment where you're being abused or you're witnessing abuse, and then having to go to school the next day to perform and be the A student because that's what everyone is expecting. Going back to a home where you may be, assaulted, and then going into being a writer at this age, like going back and forth between the two, that's been my life. I mean, so I always bring a piece of that because I can relate to where people have these hidden struggles. A lot of times I think what's often taken for granted, particularly with me, but I know a lot of people that I've worked with also, is that people seem to think if you're successful or if you look good on the outside, like all of your life is peaches and cream. And that is just not true. There are so many people who are just wildly successful, incredible in every way. Like, they are the epitome of perfection. Like, you could not pick a better person to exemplify what it means to have a perfect life. And those people are struggling behind closed doors. Those people are dealing with addictions. They're dealing with depression. They're dealing with drug abuse. They're dealing with all manner of things because they have gotten so accustomed to having to put on that happy face. And that's totally my story. Like, I relate to that because so much of my life was spent in duality, where I'm walking the line between the two. And so what's been a real benefit, and I tell people all the time, there is no experience that you have that's ever wasted. There is nothing in my life, the good or the bad, the trivial to the monumental, nothing in my life has been wasted. I've had times where, I thought, how could there possibly be a benefit to being sexually assaulted? Like, what could possibly be? There is no benefit to that. There is no benefit to that. And yet, the benefit for me that has come out of it is being able to look at someone who has gone through that and say that you can survive that and you can be better because of it. If that was the only thing good that came out of it, it was worth it. If I kept somebody from taking their life as a result of that, I'm good. I'm okay.
Wow.
Being able to be in that space where you have had those types of situations. And I mean, even dealing with no one looking at me or knowing me would have any clue about any of this, because I am a happy person. I am, pretty bubbly, very energetic, sometimes too much. I am all of those things, but at the same time, there are parts of me. There are the facets of me because we're not one dimensional. We're multifaceted. There are those facets of me that do go into darkness, that do go into depression, and I have to fight to get out of that. And what has been substantial for me and being able to really release a lot of the pain and the anger and the anxiety that I had with this rough upbringing. I mean, lots of people have had it way worse than me. I totally get that. But for me, it was very traumatic, very difficult. And being able to look at those things from the space of this is going to be of some use. Like even more recently, just a few years ago, we were facing losing our home. As my husband had lost his job, I had several cuts on mine. This when I was still in the corporate world. I was in an accident. I was actually hit by a car, literally hit as I was crossing the street. Hit by a car. We had a little bit of insurance, but not much. We so on and so forth. It's like when it rains, it pours. And we were looking at losing our house. While all of this was going on, I have a baby to raise. My husband's struggling to find a job. I'm trying to keep everything together, not worry anyone, not get into all of that. So while I had the mostly happy face, I was so terrified of. I mean, we're going to be out on the street. We have no money. What?
Yeah.
And in those moments, it took me reminding myself that this experience is going to be of use. Somebody is going to benefit from this experience, and not just us. Someone is going to benefit from this. Having to train yourself to get into that mindset, it's difficult, but it's necessary. Because when you're able to view these setbacks as use, as, I guess, like fodder, these are things that are going to be of use for you to positively impact someone else. When you look at those challenges in that way, one, it takes a lot of the sting off of it. It gives you a huge boost of strength. Like, surprisingly, it doesn't seem like it would, but, I mean, it just made such a difference being able to frame these types of things, knowing that there is some benefit, there is some use, there is some positive that is going to come from this. I just need to make sure I get to the other side. No good is going to come from me stopping short of the other side. So going through those types of challenges and types of setbacks, whatever your story may be, don't allow that to be a hamper. Don't allow that to be something that keeps you from pursuing what it is that you want to do, to keep you from having that life that you want. In fact, because you have gone through all of this, it will help propel you to those things that you want. The fact that I have been through all of these different experiences, I have been through like the worst of times as well as the best of times, I'm able to best relate to people because I can call people out on their stuff. I know what it's like to be in the valley. I know what it's like to be in those situations where you have gone through these things, but you don't talk about it. You don't acknowledge it. You just go on with life. But you have to, one, deal with those experiences, and two, you have to use those. You have to be willing to use those. Because every experience that you have, it's for the empowerment of others. Every single one. And I've yet to have an experience, bad or good, that hasn't served me and hasn't helped me serve others. I have yet to find one that's like, you know what, there was absolutely no benefit to that. There was no benefit whatsoever. I could have done without that. There are lots of them I could have done without. But they've been able to, those experiences and being able to know what it's like has given me a level of empathy and a level of connection with people that most people, they don't experience that. They don't know what it's like to have someone who has had success and who is doing like all the great things, but is also willing to say, look, I know what it's like to be like literally down to your last $3. Like, I know what that's like. Yes, you see me going around the world now, But it was just a few years ago, we literally had $3 and some change in our account. And I think we had like another $10 or so that was around in change. Like we were down to our last, like no credit cards, they're all maxed out. No money from anyone else because everyone else was broke or had already given us money. Like there's no hope whatsoever. I know what that's like. So it took, first and foremost, a lot of faith and a lot of, kind of talking yourself off the ledge, a lot of begging. I will not leave that out. It took a lot of begging. Means when you have literally nothing and everything is due, you have no recourse. You're kind of at the mercy of it's not just like you're at the mercy of God and that you're at the mercy of what you can create, but you're at the mercy of surrendering and allowing things to unfold as they're meant to. So in that particular situation where we were looking at losing our house, we had absolutely no money, and there was literally nothing that we could do because all options had been tapped out. All options were off of the table. What can we do but sit here and wait? It was in those moments of just, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen. You've got to do something because there's nothing else for me to do. I don't know how it's going to work out, but you need to do something, God, because this is not working for me. And I have those kind of conversations with God, which may be slightly blasphemous. But having those moments where it's like, okay, there is nothing else I can do. I completely open and surrender. It's in those moments that miracles can happen. So in that particular situation, I think it was actually a couple days after our foreclosure date that I got this big coaching client. So I was able to get us paid up and get our bills taken care of. It completely came out of the blue. And honestly, I'm not sure how this person found me. I think it's like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. Like one of those, I don't know who you are or where you came from, but thanks. Where do you deposit this? One of those kind of moments. So, and it's so difficult when you are at that point where you are at rock bottom for you to allow yourself to surrender and to allow yourself to be open because you are so constricted. I'm stressing. I'm full of adrenaline. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm panicking. I've got to do something. I've got to do something. I've got to do something. But the something that you've got to do is to stop. You've got to take a breath. And you've got to allow yourself to be open. You can't receive anything with a closed fist. You have to allow yourself to be open.
What's your favorite book, or what kind of books are you reading? Like, what should we be reading?
My all-time favorite book, like personal development type book, is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It just changed everything for me. It's this single line, this single line that is by far the best, and it's sort of what propelled me getting back into my flow, getting back to that place where I'm trusting myself. He says I'm paraphrasing, but essentially once you make a decision or set an intention, the universe conspires to bring it to you.
Yeah.
And when I read that, it was actually a very strange moment when I read it, because as I read that sentence, and it wasn't those words exactly, but that's my paraphrase, when I read that, as I was reading it, it's like I saw, what is that thing called, like IMAX? Like the IMAX planetarium where they show you the sky, they'll show you like the universe, they show you the constellations, and then they have this way where you're looking at, let's say, the Little Dipper, and then it completely spins the constellations around, so then you see, like, I don't know, Orion. Like, that's probably the wrong arrangement, but, you get the gist. It does, like, this turn, almost like, not quite a 180, but, I mean, as I was reading it, I envisioned this, and I could also see, like, the planets in the universe like revolving around me, but then revolving around everyone. So every person starts their wish, their intention, their desire, they put it out there, and almost like dominoes, like a domino effect, So you have your intention and you have your outcome, but in order to get that, all of these other little pieces need to fall into place. So when we don't see things instantly, we think, okay, why didn't we see it instantly? It's because all of these other dominoes have to fall into place as the universe is conspiring and as things are shifting so that you can get from point A to point B. All of that happened as I was reading that one sentence. That was a lot to experience in the span of reading a sentence. But
yeah.
that one idea, that one simple idea, that once I have the intention, once I have that request that I make for whatever it is, that the universe will give it to me and that I will have it. I don't have to know the timing. I don't have to know the how. I don't have to be all worked up about, who's doing what and who's going to do it and what. I don't have to be bothered about any of it. All I have to do is make the request, being willing to receive it once I get it, and making sure that it's aligned with not only what I want, but what will be a service for other people, what would benefit others.
Who is someone that we should be following?
My coach, Julianne Turner, she is amazing, and so much. She is such an integral part. She's my coach, but she's one of my closest friends, and definitely a part of the family. Just amazing. Her work is phenomenal around creation and creativity, and her book is a bestseller, The Creator's Guide. Absolutely brilliant mind. If you don't know her, you need to get to know her. She is phenomenal. And besides being just a fantastic person, the way her method of helping you to tap into your genius and to connect to your creativity so you can create that life that you want in the different facets of your life. Her methodology is fantastic. She's an amazing person. And much of what I'm accomplishing now, the foundation for that was laid with my initial work with her when I could not see the possibility for myself. I just thought, hey, well, if I'm asking for stuff, why not ask for this, that, and the third? Well, I'm getting this, that, and the third. Man, she was able to help me get clarity around that and to deal with all of my stuff so that I can clear the way for those things to show up for me. And so she's fantastic. Vishen Lakhiani for Mind Valley, again, just brilliant. He's an amazing person, very interesting, very interesting guy.
He is.
Don't know him, you got to know him. Having met him, had conversations with him over the past year or so, and the amazing people that he's able to connect with. I'm always in just a constant state of awe at how he's able to draw and attract some of the most, just brilliant people from all over that not only work with his company and in his business, but are willing to volunteer for him and that are just in his circle of influence. I'm amazed at his ability to just draw. It's how in the hell did you find these people? How is that possible for one person to be the linchpin of all of these folks? It's because he's amazing. Very forward thinker, very futuristic, and in his approach to a number of things, from education to culture hacking to, again, creating the life that you want. He's huge on all of those. So he's definitely one to be on people's radar. And I think that those are probably my top two. And I said, outside of family, outside of my mom and my kid.
Yeah, I love Vishen. We've done a couple of, I've sat in on some of his webinars and for higher consciousness and, all kinds of cool stuff. He's really amazing. I really like Vishen.
Yeah, and he is amazingly funny. He's a lot of people you would think as the CEO of, and I think the company now is worth around $100 million. He has a dozen different companies that he owns. You would think someone of that magnitude would be so unapproachable, would be so unattainable, and he's so down to earth. He is, I always want to say he's like this goofy kid in a lot of ways, just there's definitely that business mind. There's definitely that brilliance that's there that comes from his engineering background, but
Yeah.
there's such a humanity that's there also. And I really appreciate that about him, that he does allow himself to be normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess the best, as normal as, we get.
You know what? When I observed him last year, I really liked how he kept it cool, and he was like cool under pressure when some of the presentation slides weren't coming up the way that, they wanted them to. He was just so cool about, not freaking out that the presentation wasn't going the way it was supposed to go. And, technology was getting in the way. Of course, we were in Bali, so that was kind of to be expected. But I really observed that. And I wanted to, because we ended up flying back, on the same plane. I was going back to Shanghai and he was going back to KL. And so we both, I had to stop through KL, and I really wanted to go to the Mind Valley office and hang out and just look at the meeting rooms and, to meet some people and stuff. But like I said, I had to get right back. But you got to go, right? Didn't you get to go to KL, to their office?
Absolutely, yeah, and it was hilarious because he then tries to photobomb me. What CEO is doing that? What CEO is like walking around photobombing people? Vision. So, and the facility is absolutely amazing. I know that they're expanding, that his model is changing quite a bit. If anyone is ever in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, you definitely have to add Mind Valley headquarters as one of your stops. Very easy to get to. They do have, if you call ahead or if you email them, they do have, open tours.
Yeah, I know.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. It's like, what company is letting people, just show up and tour? But they do. They do allow you to tour the space. And it is, even though they're doing such big things in the world, they're the number one personal development company that's out there for personal development and training, number one on the planet. And you go into their office, you're greeted with this, life-size statue of Wonder Woman. You're greeted with, these comfy couches. There's no shoes allowed. You're walking around in this very hip, vibrant office. They have a clubhouse. They have a tree house. They have an auditorium, the Hall of Awesomeness, the whole beanbags. This is, when you think of a company that is number one in its market, that is worth over $100 million US, you would not think you would be greeted by my Wonder Woman. And yet, that's exactly what you get. You don't think treehouse when you think of these things, but the playfulness and the creativity of the space is a reflection not only of Vishen and the people that he attracts to them, but also of the necessity of play when you are creating something that's new, when you are doing things that are epic and have the ability to truly transform not just an individual's lives, but to transform them, their families, their communities, their workplace. The ripple effect is massive, and you cannot do those sorts of things if you are uptight with your undies in a wad, all stressed out. You just simply cannot have that type of impact. It requires a level of openness and fluidity and joy for you to have a positive impact. And so their office reflects that very well.
Yeah. So, okay, so where do you see your projects? Where do you see your projects and everything that you're working on, your platform? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, within 5 years, I definitely see Embrace Your Awesome as being a mainstream phenomena. That's really my goal. There is such a need for people to be reminded of not only their greatness, but the need for what they have. We are dying. We are each dying, waiting for everyone else to step into their greatness. And when we all are able to acknowledge and embrace the fact that we are awesome, no matter whether you think that you're on a huge scale or a small scale, every person has the ability and actually the obligation to change lives for the better. So I see Embrace Your Awesome as being on, not just on a global scale, but I see it as being a mass media phenomena. And with this coming year, like I said, there's a few of the Embrace Your Awesome World Tours that are in the works. I'm very excited about that. This inaugural one was so much fun. I'm going to do it a few more times. Thanks, husband. I do a few more of those. And I also see, as an offshoot of that, I see a lot more young people coming into their own much earlier on. So one of my heart's desire with all of this is being able to help young people, and by young people I mean high school students, early college students, helping them to understand and to grasp the fact that they can be amazing even when they're young, that their youth is not a deterrent. It is, in fact, something that is going to help them so much further, because if you can get it into your head that you can have and be and do absolutely anything that you want to do or be or have or experience, everything else in life, it's not a piece of cake, but it's a piece of cake. Like if you can fully understand and grasp like the magnitude of that for all of the things that you want to experience, that you want to do, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of your surroundings, that you can experience that. If you're understanding and getting that when you're in your late teens, early 20s, you have the next 100 years to live that out. That's amazing. That is so exciting to me. So I really see Embrace Your Awesome being able to help young people come into their own so that they can get that. There's no need to bully someone else when you are embracing your own awesome. There's no need to feel that you have to turn to drugs or to violence or to suicide because you're not being seen, you're not being heard. You have the ability to create not only the life that you want, but you have the ability to create the experience that you want without having to diminish or harm anyone else. That's huge. So, that's where you see things going for me in the next 5 years.
Okay, well, you are an amazing transformation coach. You are traveling the world. You are a phenomenal speaker, and you are, just doing amazing things. You have inspired me throughout this last year that I've known you, and I know that through this interview, you will inspire other people to embrace their awesome as well. If people want coaching from you, if people want to follow you, if people want to get in touch with you, if people want to attend a conference in the future, how can they get in touch with you?
So they can start by going to my website, jks.me. You can also find me on Facebook at J.K. Shaulis, that's J.K. Shaulis, and on Twitter at J.K. Shaulis. For information on the upcoming events that I have and the programs that are in the works, two of which that are coming up in the next month or two. There is Mistress of Her Domain and Speak Your Power, both phenomenal programs, if I say so myself. You can certainly check those out at jks.me. When you register to get your free gift on the website, you'll automatically be entered to get updates on the latest programs. And if anyone wants to arrange for a strategy session with me, I typically have an application process for all of that. But as a listener of Natasha's podcast, you can email me directly to schedule that. And you can email me at jksqueensaulis.com. So that is jks@JacquelineShaulis.com. Be sure to put in the subject line, Go and Glow Project, so I'll know that you're one of Natasha's listeners. And you will bypass the usual process and have a 30-minute session with me.
That is so awesome. That is so gracious and generous of you, and I hope that my listeners take you up on that offer. We can all use coaching. I have a coach, actually. I had one in China, and I have one here, and I think it's really important for us to, to keep ourselves in the conversation and to have an accountability mentor actually, I call them friend tours, for the people who I actually know who are keeping me accountable for things. So I really appreciate your time. Like I said, I know that you just came off of tour 2 days ago or a day ago, and I know you must be tired, and I know that, you could have spent this time with your family, and so I'm really grateful that you gave me this time to shine and to inspire other people. So for the listeners, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends, and don't forget to contact Jacqueline. And also, if you have not visited my blog, it's goandglowproject.com. Also, you can catch Go and Glow TV on YouTube at youtube.com/goandglowproject. Also, we're on Facebook, the Go and Glow Project, and Twitter and Instagram. I might as well plug that while I'm at it. Twitter and Instagram is goandglow_. So I hope to hear from you. I hope to connect with you. If you know any other inspiring people like Jacqueline that I should be interviewing, please get in contact with me. You can email me at goandglowproject@gmail.com, or just hit me up on my blog. Okay? Until the next time we talk, guys, go and glow.